that, let's bring in Kentucky Congressman James Comer, chairman of the House Oversight Committee. Congressman, good morning to you. The Oversight Committee does have jurisdiction over the National Archives, and I know that you have requested a briefing on all of this. So have they responded to that request? What do you know about these documents that we might not?
Unfortunately, they have not responded, and this is very disappointing because this is their role. Anytime there's something like this happens, the National Archives is supposed to brief both the chairman and ranking member of the House Oversight Committee. When Mar-a-Lago was raided, we reached out to National Archives requesting a briefing to know exactly what type of documents Trump supposedly had in his possession and why they triggered a raid on Mar-a-Lago. All they did was refer us to the Justice Department. Here we have Biden doing the same thing with multiple locations. We still have not heard anything from National Archives. It's very disappointing.
Focused on one of those locations, specifically Joe Biden's Wilmington residence, you are calling on the White House to release visitor logs. And you wrote this to White House Chief of Staff Ron Klain, quote, "Without a list of individuals who have visited his residence, the American people will never know who had access to these highly sensitive documents. The House Oversight Committee demands transparency into whether any individuals with foreign connections to the Biden family gained access to President Biden's residence and the classified documents that he has mishandled for years." Who do you worry, Congressman Comer, is on that visitor's log?
Well, it could be anyone, considering all the money the Biden family has received from our adversaries around the world. Your guess is as good as mine. But we know that Hunter Biden lived there for several years. We know that Hunter Biden has a history of having problems with landlords with respect to who he lets in on the premises of different properties that he was leasing. So, we've got a lot of concerns here. Now, you go back to the way the FBI and DOJ handled the Mar-a-Lago raid. They took security camera footage. They took all the video, so they know exactly who was in and out of Mar-a-Lago. We have no idea who was in and out of President Biden's home. They didn't take security cameras. They never released visitor logs. They didn't raid the residence. In fact, after the general counsel was appointed, we still find out that President Biden's personal attorneys are still rummaging around what essentially would be a crime scene, trying to find information to turn over. So, this whole process has been handled poorly. It shows there's a two-tier system of justice in America, and we want to know exactly who all had access to those classified documents at the Biden home.
Yeah, and there are also questions now about whether President Biden's lawyers have security clearance and if they should be the ones looking for these documents. What do you think about that?
They do not have security clearance, as far as we know, and they should not be looking at those documents. I said this yesterday. That is essentially a crime scene. Once the special counsel was appointed, then that became a crime scene. Yet we find out instead of the FBI raiding the resident and going in there and treating that security breach the same as they treated the Mar-a-Lago security breach, they're letting President Biden's personal attorneys go around and look for stuff. Who knows if they're turning in what they find? And just because President Biden's lawyer says, "Oh, we found 5 documents," that doesn't mean anything to me. We have zero trust level with President Biden's personal attorneys right now. So this should be treated and handled in the same fashion that Mar-a-Lago was handled, and it's not. The American people see that, and I think the Democrats in Washington are in panic mode because they realize their scheme to try to convict Donald Trump for possession of classified documents just went down the commode because Joe Biden not only did the same thing, but he did worse, and he wasn't even president of the United States. He was only vice president.
Yeah, Donald Trump's lawyers did not have, let's call it the same level of access and oversight over the documents at Mar-a-Lago that maybe Joe Biden's attorneys have had. Obviously, you're going to investigate this. How will Congress's investigation of the president differ from the special counsel under Merrick Garland?
Well, the special counsel is supposed to only look at President Biden's mishandling of classified documents. It's supposed to be a very narrow reach. What we're investigating is the Biden family influence peddling. Now, the fact that they had classified documents, that adds another layer to improper behavior on behalf of the Biden family. Now, this could have been unintentional. What I said when Mar-a-Lago was raided is our research indicates that every president accidentally takes documents with them when they leave the presidency. I think this shows that we need to reform the way the National Archives conducts business. But with respect to Trump, no other president or vice president was raided. So what Biden's done here with classified documents really isn't different than Trump or Bush or Obama or any other president. It's just that Donald Trump was treated very differently. And then if you want to go a little deeper with respect to Biden, no presidential family in the history of America has been accused of more wrongdoing with respect to ethics violations and influence peddling like the Biden family has. So it's very concerning what they have here. It's very concerning how the Justice Cabinet is treating Biden versus Trump. And this just adds to the long list of things that we're going to investigate with respect to the Biden family.
Yeah, there was a Politico article that was recently written that said that President Biden's handling of classified documents and the careless nature with which he handled them lines itself more towards Hillary Clinton than former President Trump, which is an interesting comparison. Congressman, ultimately, how do you think this is going to end? Because even if a special counsel finds that President Biden did do something wrong, you can't indict a sitting president. So what ultimately ends up happening here?
I don't think they've even thought that through. I think Merrick Garland realized that once he appointed a special counsel to look into Trump's handling of classified documents, he had no choice but to do the same with Biden, because Biden, again, wasn't even president. Biden had the documents for 6 years, 3 times longer than Donald Trump had documents. And this is just another example of a two-tier justice system. In my opinion, there shouldn't be any special counsels. In my opinion, Merrick Garland should step back and say, you know what? We probably overreacted with Trump. We're just going to ban both special counsels and work with the House Oversight Committee to reform the way National Archives does business in the future. That would be the best option. And let us continue our investigation into Biden family influence peddling. The Democrats investigated the Trump family for numerous violations over the past 6 years. They really found nothing. This is the one and only investigation of the Biden family, yet the Democrats are crying foul every step of the way. This family needs to be investigated. We don't need special counsels in the way. Again, I don't think there should be special counsel in either situation. And I think we just need to have a briefing with the National Archives. And I think we could come together in a bipartisan way and fix this problem to where it doesn't happen in the future, and reform the way the National Archives does. It was purely political what DOJ and FBI did to Trump.
It has been reported that there are about 20 documents out there that are going to come to light this week. Congressman, do you think there are more documents out there that will come to light this week?
Unfortunately, I have no trust or confidence in Biden's personal attorneys. Joe Biden said at the press conference a few days ago when Ducey asked him about it, he said he had no knowledge of it. I believe that. He probably had no knowledge of it. That's even worse than him having knowledge of it, because who had access to the Biden Center for Diplomacy, which we know was primarily funded through anonymous donations in China? Who had access to the Biden residence, where we know Hunter Biden lived there 2 years? And I don't have time to go into all the potential conflicts that Hunter Biden would have had while he lived there for 2 years. So, again, this is something that is not going to go away. I think there's a way that this could be handled and save a lot of tax dollars, save a lot of drama, a lot of unnecessary legal bills, if the National Archives would sit down with congressional leaders and try to work this out. But right now, because the FBI didn't raid the Biden residence, we don't have any confidence in anything that Biden's personal attorneys are saying right now.
Congressman Comer, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate it.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.